Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So I get a lot of questions from people who have lyres about how exactly you figure out which strings are which. Because if you're a harp player, you'll know that having a lyre, there's no colored strings like there are on the harp. On the harp you have red strings are C and blue strings are F. So it's really easy to kind of orient yourself in space and in the musical spectrum because you kind of know where the basic notes are, so you can make chord shapes really easily, and it helps a lot. Now lyres, because the strings are metal, and usually I haven't seen a lot of colors on metal strings aside from like some fun neon guitar strings and stuff. They don't usually color metal strings, so there's no way to tell here's where I am on my lyre. Especially if you're just starting out, this can be really tricky. Now there's a couple of ways to help with this issue. One way that I used on this lyre is, if you look really close, you can see there's some gems up by the tops of the strings. I chose blue for F and red for C because I am a harp player, so that makes it a lot easier for me to navigate personally. And as long as you're able to look at the tops of the strings, then that really helps. And maybe once you're more used to the lyre or more comfortable playing it, then that is all that you would need. Maybe that would be all that you would need. But there is another method. Now, I originally learned about this from wire-strung harp players. And they use these Posca markers, which are paint markers, to kind of coat the C and F strings. And crazily, it doesn't really change the sound. The wire still rings out really beautifully, so it doesn't really dampen anything, which is amazing. So I was like, you know what, that works so well on my wire-strung harp, why don't I do this on my lyres? So I'm going to go ahead and give you a tutorial today about how to do this, to use paint markers on your strings to make it more easy to recognize which string is which when you're playing the lyre. Now, because I am a harp player, the easiest and most familiar for me is red strings are C and blue strings are F. So that's what I'm going to be doing. If you have a lyre because you really want to play harp someday and you can't afford a larger harp yet, completely understandable, then I recommend absolutely you go with this red C's and blue F's, because then you won't have to make any kind of a transition when you move to the larger harp. If, however, you are not concerned with moving to a harp, you don't want to ever play the harp, you just like your lyre, you can come up with whatever system works for you. Maybe your harp is, or your lyre, sorry, you've tuned the F's to F sharp, so it's in the key of G, so you want the G's to be readily identifiable. Maybe you'll make the G's purple. It's up to you. However you feel like it would work best for you. I'm just here to tell you that the standard, especially if you're playing harp, is red C's and blue F's. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So your first step here is to get some paint markers. People swear by the Posca brand, which I'm sure are really great. They're a little bit more expensive, so I went with this graffiti brand. I will link both down in the comments so you can grab some if you'd like. But the directions are really easy. First, we're just going to shake it. Give it a really good shake. Okay, and then we're going to get it started on this piece of paper, because we don't want ink flowing all over our lyre. Obviously, that is bad news. So we're going to take this and press it down, and then we've got some ink flowing. So now we've got ink, we're going to grab the lyre. Now, if you're using this for the first time, it might be a little more difficult to get that ink flowing, and you might get a little too much at first. Just keep trying. It's totally doable. So now we're just going to go to the strings. This is my C. A lot of lyres are going to have the strings labeled. If not, you can use a tuner to figure out which one is C. And we're just going to kind of brush down the string. Now, we don't have to worry about covering it all over. Like, I'm not going to worry about getting the back side of the string because obviously that's not going to help me. Now, it's an aesthetic choice. Usually we're not going to be playing down here,
So you have a choice of if you want the red to go all the way down, because maybe you think it looks nicer. Personally, I do. I think it's nice for the whole string to look red. So I'm going to go all the way down. It kind of sounds funny. Okay, so we've got that string. And then we move on to our next C, just all the way up here. The nice thing about these lyres is that they typically don't have a whole ton of strings, so this is not going to be a time-intensive or laborious process, which is always nice. Okay, oops, I got a little bit on the wood there, so I'm just going to wipe it off. If you wipe it off immediately, it comes off pretty well. If you leave it sit, it might be a little harder to remove. And it's not super obvious, but it's obvious enough that you can see it while you're playing, which is really all that you need. Okay, so we're going to do the blue one now. And I'm going to show you the same process with the blue one. We're just going to shake. Once we shake it up a little bit, we're going to press. Okay, we've got some ink flowing already. Let's get the lyre. Okay, now we're going to find our Fs. Let's see, we've got an F right here. This is a really light blue. The markers I'm going to link you to are a set of markers, and they come with lots of different colors. These are hard to buy individually. So, I mean, you'll just have some fun paint markers that you can do stuff with. The other thing to keep in mind about these markers is that they do wear out. Like the more that you're playing, the paint is just going to kind of flake off. It's not going to be something that you're going to notice and be like, oh my gosh, I have paint all over my hands. It's such a tiny amount of paint. But you are going to notice that after a while, the strings are less colored. So you will want to have these markers on hand. You're not going to want to just do it one time and then toss them out, because you will need to reapply. Not super often. If you're playing quite often, like maybe you're playing every day, you might need to reapply like every couple months. It's not something that just like immediately happens. That's one of the benefits of this method, is that this is it's pretty permanent. It's not something that you're going to have to go and redo constantly, but you will have to redo it sometimes.
So there we go. It's so simple that I don't know if you can even see it on the video, the different colors of the strings. But as I'm sitting here ready to play, I can definitely tell. It's going to make it so much easier for me to navigate playing the lyre, the chord shapes, all of that. C and F are also reference notes on the piano, because they are in these little spots with two white keys. You can't really see that, but they're just pretty standard reference notes in a lot of instruments, and it will definitely make your life easier to be able to have this visual cue of, okay, here's where I am on my lyre. Now you're going to want to give this some time to dry. It's pretty quick drying, but honestly, just let it sit overnight. Better safe than sorry. You don't want to play and have paint all over your hands. That's no fun. But yeah, definitely by overnight, you'll be totally fine and good to go. So there you have it. This is the easy way to make strings on a lyre identifiable. And again, I'm going to put the links for those markers down in the description so you can pick them up for yourself and give it a try. If you don't like it, they're pretty easy to wash off the strings. You just got to get a damp paper towel, wipe it down, it comes off. Easy peasy. Thank you all so much for watching and for all of your support. If you have any questions, please ask me down in the comments, because I would love to get back to you. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you all so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click on that subscription button right up there. Otherwise, if you would like to join my Patreon or buy me a coffee, the links to those are down in the description. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day.